Today we're going to talk about improving your credit. If you haven't had any issues, and dealing with bill collectors. At this young age, you may not be there, but okay. So some of you know what we're going to be talking about from experience, and hopefully by having this session today, it will help you not to have this experience. Another topic for today is getting out of debt and finally making a financial plan. Last session, we talked about the 3 reporting agencies. Do you all remember that? Does anybody remember the names?
Equifax.
TransUnion
and Corporate Square.
Experian and TransUnion. Very good. Just want to be sure that you remember where we were. Those 3 reporting agencies gather information on millions of consumers and report it to prospective lenders. Excuse me? No. We talked about what goes into your credit file, and that the payment history is a major part of that. I wonder if we have a clicker here. Have a clicker? It actually might be one. So amount that you owe is another area in your, another factor that is considered in determining your credit score, what makes up that FICO score that we talked about. And I didn't mention last time that it's better to, I did mention keep it low, but the percentage is less than 30%. When you get less than 30% of your total debt, that's considered good. So initially, if you buy a car, it's going to be higher. But over time, it's going to get lower. But if you have a credit card with a credit limit, it's definitely better to not go above 30% of your credit limit, just to have this better score. What some people do to increase their score is just to call the credit card company and ask to have the limit increase. And automatically right there, your debt to credit available was going to be lower because you have a bigger limit, not having done anything. What you owe is the same, but you increase your credit limit. So that's another thing that you might consider. The length of your credit history we said is another factor. Whether you have new credit, it can hurt you. If it looks like you're overextending and you're trying to get a whole bunch of loans or a whole lot of get into more debt quickly, it's a signal that you could be in financial trouble. And lenders don't want to lend to people who are higher rich. And finally, the credit limit, a combination of installment accounts and retail accounts. It's a good thing. Car loans. We mentioned the range of FICO scores, which is from 300 to 850. And interestingly enough, most of the, above 700 is definitely considered good credit. You could be below 700 and still be given the best rate. It depends on the lender. How can you improve your credit score? This is new information now. And I'm hoping that this will actually help you today. One factor that we mentioned is to reduce your debt to credit ratio. That's talking about the credit available. And there are 2 ways that you can reduce it. One is to lower your debt. Pay off some accounts or pay on some accounts. That's going to automatically lower your debt. Another way is to increase your credit limits without changing your current amount owed. That would improve the credit score. If you have questions as I go along, be sure to ask those questions. It's important to check your credit report regularly and correct errors. So we said that you can get your report free once a year from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies. If you see any errors, report them right away. Ricky told me he saw an error, but he had not reported that error. I think Dante also saw an error, right, Dante? But you hadn't reported the error, so go ahead and report the error. Because you might decide you're going to do something. You want to apply for something major, and when you get ready to do it, you don't have time to get it corrected. It takes time to correct the report. And if it's hurting your score, it's better to get that done in advance before you do something major.
All right, when you say, because that's a question I had also. I use TransUnion. All right, you get it one time, a free credit report 1 time per year
For each.
from each one.
Yes.
So that means I can use TransUnion now, 3 months later, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
Okay.
And that's how we talked about, we thought that would be a good strategy. That's a strategy my husband and I use. And we have, between us, we have 6, so we can, and we have a lot of joint accounts, so we will spread it out. I haven't been doing it as much because every time you apply for a car loan or a mortgage, you can get your credit score free. So we applied for loans. several in the last few years. We got a car last year, and we got a car this year, so I just asked them, what's the credit score? And then I figured, okay, it sounds right. Trust me, if it didn't sound right, I would give my free credit report in a heartbeat. You go say, wait a minute, what's wrong with that? So there's one place that we recommended that you go, it's called annualcreditreport.com. There are a number of different sites that try to entice you to come, and they fake like they're the real free one that the government has authorized, but the one that's really free is annualcreditreport.com. That's all I had back here. Does anybody know?
I did, Dr. Wood. I just had the same question Ricky asked you already about, you said spread it out every 3 months instead of getting the whole year.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's the thing I should.
Yeah, but even though they don't have exactly the same information in the three reporting agencies, it's likely that they're going to have the same thing, your car loan or your credit card. So I personally would spread it out.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And then, if I saw an error in one, I might think there might be an error in another. Then I might explore a little further. Okay. So if you mentioned last time, if you're turned down for credit, because of your credit card, you can get a free copy of your credit report that way too. And that's actually how we used to get our free credit reports, huh, Mr. Wood? We would just get turned down all the time. Then we'd get our free credit reports. But that's not the way we do it now. Now we get it through the annual credit.
That's called making lemonade out of lemons.
It's kind of sad, but you know one thing is,
We were experts.
if you're gonna have a sad situation, hopefully you can get to the point where you can laugh about it. So I'm glad that we're at that point now that we can look back and say, that's behind us. Make all your payments on time. It matters if you're 5 days late or 8 days late, you're late. So you know you made an agreement to pay by a certain time. Go ahead and make those payments on time. And if you feel you can't handle it, you know what you can do? You can set up your payments automatically. So they'll come out of your account automatically. And that's what I do for most of my accounts. The mortgages, the car payments, anything like that. Because they might have different due dates as well. I can't every day be trying to figure out what day is this due. Or you can just say when I get paid, I pay all my accounts. But to make it even easier on myself, I set everything up automatically. So on a certain date, they get paid, so I never worry about the late payments. And I didn't used to do that. I used to say, well, I want to see the statement first to be sure it's right before I go ahead and pay. But one time I forgot to make a payment one time. That was it. I said, automatic payment for everything. Because we worked really hard to get our credit to the point where there were no issues. So I couldn't afford to have a late payment. So what I did, I called that company and asked them not to report that late payment to the credit agencies because I had a history of paying on time every month. So they went ahead and they didn't report it. And because I don't know if it might have been only a little hit, but I didn't want any hit. But it helps to have a reputation of paying on time because it's easy for people to look up your history and understand that, yeah, when you say, I just forgot this, they know it really was, you just forgot. Okay, also, you might want to consider keeping your old accounts open, even if you're not using them, because as we mentioned, the length of time that you had the credit, that also impacts your credit score. The longer you had your credit, the higher your score. So the main thing is discipline. If you're going to keep all your old accounts open, just don't use them. You might not even have the card, you might cut it up, but you know that it's helping your score. So I think that that's something you might want to consider in the future. Suppose there is a problem though, what can you do? It's good to contact your creditors as soon as a payment problem arises. Don't wait. Okay. Well, the last slide. Let's see, what's that? Leaving those old accounts open. I mentioned on Tuesday that my daughter and I are on an account together, and she doesn't even know the name of the account. I just talked to her before I came to the class, came to the session. And she doesn't remember. She thought it was closed. I said, well, if you look on your credit report, you're going to see a card there. That's the one that we have together. But I said, it's definitely to your advantage to keep that open. We don't know. Don't take yourself off as an authorized user. I think she's not even, it's not a joint account. She's an authorized user on that account. And that's different, which means she's really not obligated to pay the debt. She just gets the benefit of the fact that I pay on time every month. That's a good arrangement. So authorized user. But you know that anybody who has good credit is probably not going to be inclined to let you be an authorized user unless you've established with that person that you can be trusted.
Authorized users can be authorized abusers.
Don't open several new accounts in a short time. That drops your credit score. I don't know if you've ever heard, well, you probably have experienced it when you go into the store. Would you like to save 10% today by opening one? No. Here's one. No. No. Yeah, because you see all these cards now you're opening, and it's going to show on your credit file that you could be extending yourself, overextending yourself. So it's always funny to look at the clerks, because if we're in the store together and we're checking out at the same time, they kind of try to figure out, well, who do they need to talk to? Should they talk to the husband, or should they talk to the wife? If they pick the wife, it's always a quick no. No. My husband might take a little bit longer to say no, but we have an understanding. But there was a time when we used to do it.
Nice, you know. Well.
Yeah, and I don't. But he tries to be nice, so they talk a little more. They can convince him to open the account, saying, you know, it's gonna be no. So just say
I like
no.
being cruel.
No.
I like making them think that they're making some progress. So it's like, and you see, it really will work, don't you? It looks like you understand. Yeah. No.
There was a time when we used to take advantage of the specials, because I thought, okay, but you can save 10%. So if you're buying, I like to save money. So if you're buying all this stuff, you go in and get save your 10%. But why do they do that? Why would a store offer you the discount? Clearly because they figure, and they know from their past experience, that people who have store cards use their store cards. You max out this card, so you go to this store and you max out that card, and you just keep going, especially if you're not disciplined. So maybe because you all are business students, you might be more likely to be disciplined on how you manage your money. But that's not always true. If you look at older people, a lot of them get in trouble themselves. They're making a lot of money, but they're spending even more money than they make.
You know, remember, we helped a guy, a friend of ours, his mother died, and we were helping him clean out his mother's house. And in that house, we found, how many? It was like 30 credit cards?
That's a lot.
30, it was a stack of credit cards that, I mean, she had maxed every one of them out.
I think she had a system. I think she would use she would get a cash advance from one card and use that to make payments on another card. So she was really just trying to work the system, but she wasn't able to keep up with it.
Did she have to file bankruptcy?
No, I don't think so, because she died.
Okay, the woman that, pardon me, I'm sorry.
So I
didn't
don't
hear
think. Now the question, did she live, would she have had to?
I think so, because I mean, she's so much debt, she can't get it.
Yes. But she learned how to work the system, but there comes a point where you can't do it anymore.
Right.
Yes.
So you're saying don't open those cards where they give you little
That's
offers?
what I'm saying. Don't open.
How many did you have? At first, I just did one the other day.
Oh, only one. They just-
Do you know what the interest rate is on that card?
18.
They're charging.
It's usually high.
Yes, real high.
No, but I opened
But she's
it.
not gonna
I
use
didn't charge anything to it.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, a lot of times, they don't talk to you about what the terms are on those cards. They just figure you
Well, the
know,
employees don't know anything.
Yeah, they don't.
Have some of you worked in retail where you had to do okay, so you know, and don't you get, sometimes, isn't there an incentive sometimes of people who get the most sign-ups or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
He had a question, you had a question.
I just wanted to know, I also heard that when your parents have like credit cards and like if they pass away, it goes to their kids. Is that true?
I heard that same thing too, even like your bills and stuff, that goes to somebody. Because the state do
The state, but that's not you.
Yeah, but
But
they
if
got
you
you
get
people
that
that still
state-
live,
Say it
yeah,
again?
the kids
No,
do.
but you don't owe. What they would do is reduce
Next
what
to
you
kin.
can get.
Survivor-
They cannot come after your personal assets because your parents owe money. Seriously.
Really?
If you owe something,
There's no way.
it goes to your
You
dependent.
can reduce what you get.
It goes to your family.
Yeah, it's not gonna be different. We're talking about
Give
parents.
them his bills,
But
but
the
the
state-
bill, somebody got
Like
to
his-
pay.
It won't affect the estate, which is not what
Just
the
on you.
parents have left to pass on to.
Yeah, they do
Because
gotta
they was
pay.
gonna close it.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Devin, I do have a question now. I was told it doesn't, mean the interest rate does matter, but it does, as long as you're paying your bills on time,
Paid in full on time.
on full on time, it don't hurt you.
Right,
Cause mine hasn't hurt me
right.
at all.
You pay in full on time.
But if you're doing minimum payments, you're really falling behind. I mean, you're not making a lot of progress because a lot of people, you hear people say, all you gotta do is pay $5 on the thing and they gotta take it. Well, yeah, you can pay $5 on the thing, but you're not.
No, you're not minimizing your balance at all.
Yeah, the interest, I mean, you have to look at those kind of things.
Okay, it's also recommended that you maintain a mixture of credit. Okay, so that means Visa credit, like a major credit card like a Visa, and then your car loan. And ultimately, one day you're gonna have a mortgage following it. And these are the last two things that I really like to suggest to people who either try to build new credit or to rebuild their credit. Open a secured Visa. A secured Visa is when you use your savings as collateral for the Visa. The credit limit will be what the bank has in savings. That's an excellent way to start. And we've done that too. Just about everything that we talked about here as far as rebuilding your credit, we've done it. So it seems like so long ago, and it was a long time ago, but at the time that we were doing it, it seemed like it would never end. You know, you get a little bit of money, put it in the bank, and then you apply for this secured Visa. So that way, your money is a collateral, so you can get that. Then you show that you can pay. Okay, you charge a little bit, not a lot, and pay every month. So that's how you can build up your credit without having had any credit, or even if you've had bad credit. The last method here is getting a secured signature loan. And I just even recently called our credit union to check on this, because if you have bad credit, most people are not going to want to lend you any cash. But if you put the cash in and borrow against the cash, see, and that's what we did too. That was a great way. I think we did it several times. I think we got maybe a $500 loan from our credit union. Put the money in, and then that will be the collateral, and we get a loan for $500 and pay it off over several months. It's one good file. Then we will take the money at the end of that, borrow the same amount, and we kept doing it, so we were establishing good credit. So after you've had bad credit, if you can show, even though it has to be your money that you're using as collateral, you show that you can be trusted with money.
So you were technically never doing anything with the loan, you were just using it to...
Yeah, you got that right. When you do this, you're not doing anything with it except building your credit. That's it. When you get that money, you use that money to pay it.
And it points out the fact that when it comes to getting out of credit trouble, it's not just a matter of waiting until the bad things go away, but then you have to proactively take steps to build good new credit. And these are some of the things that really help to make it happen.
Okay, if you have to deal with the creditors, it's recommended that you be honest. If you've lost your job, say that you've lost your job. If something has happened to change the way you have been paying, let them know what's going on. If you've gotten very sick or you have a lot of medical bills or whatever, just be honest with the creditors. And contact them as soon as possible. Don't wait to contact the creditors. Be humble. You don't have an attitude with a creditor. You know, these are the representatives. You owe them. You're trying to get them to work with you. So be humble. I know you can get a little irritated, but I guess it's much better for you to call them than to wait for them to call you and you look at caller ID, who's this, and you don't want to answer that kind of thing.
No, the way you answer, baby, let's say, because I know people that do that, and you get upset.
Yes.
It's something that you owe.
Right. Much better. Don't get them upset. Answer the phone. Better, you owe them. So even though we were before caller ID, so we answered the phone anyway. But even today, if I owed, I would answer the
That
phone.
shows you how far back that was.
Can I ask you a question?
I gotta call time when they
I have this one instructor here, and they basically said that sometimes it's good to let your unpaid bills go into collections, and then the companies that buy those collections, the collection agency,
We'll give you the work a deal.
they'll work a deal for you.
Okay. So you all, let's talk about this here. I get this a lot. That person who will do that is in big trouble. You know, by the time, you're saying that you don't mind it goes to collections, because when it goes into collections, you take a bigger credit hit. So to do that, you might save money, because then you can work a deal where they say, okay, we'll take 80% of what's owed. And that, but your credit is going to take a hit, your credit score, because it's going to be collections. And interestingly enough, I know what Ricky's talking about, and I try to help somebody that I knew by contacting the creditors for him, and he hadn't got to the collection stage, but he was old, like 80-some years old, and he had all this debt. So I was trying to contact the creditors, because he was overextended. he let other people use his credit, which that's so unconscionable. When you take advantage of an old person, you know, you need, and so they'll help you out, and then you're gone and they have to pay. So I contacted his creditors for him, and I was trying to explain to them that he's old, you got his age, and he's trying to do what he can to get everything up to date and make sure that he doesn't default, because it's way too much for him. His debt is so high, and very few people will make willing to make any deals. That's a sad thing. I said, well, I guess he just has to go on with that much debt, but I was trying to explain to him that, you know, he doesn't have a long life expectancy. If you're 80-something years old, there's not got so much future. So getting a little more now and trying to settle. I was trying to get them to settle on a certain amount, and if they settle, then he can take the money he gets, pay that one off first. But it didn't work so well. But if you're in real trouble, meaning that you just kind of figure it can't get too much worse, then you can let it go to the collection agency. I personally would have a hard time doing it deliberately, because usually people who work for collection agencies, they're pretty aggressive. Because they get paid, part of their pay is based on how much they can collect from you, so they're not always that nice.
Exactly.
I don't like to deal with people who are not
That's right. Amen.
I used to be a bill collector one time, yeah. You're not nice, you can't be nice.
Be in touch, so keep the creditors posted on how things are going, you know, if you make a promise to do it, pay a certain amount, go ahead and pay that amount. Don't make payment arrangements that you can't honor. If you know that you're expecting to get $200 at the end of the month, you can't promise 5 people $100. And then at the end of the month comes, you are able to honor 3 or 4 of those commitments. And really, if you think about it, if you all were collectors, and someone promised you, and then you probably marked it on your calendar, the payment didn't come in, you're gonna call them back.
Okay, I have a question about the bill collector. Say I went to the emergency room, so I got a huge bill. And
Did you have insurance?
yes, but
Even still, your part was
yeah.
okay.
And eventually bill collectors started calling me, but it was an error on their part. So will that affect my credit?
If you don't get that off your credit report, it will.
Yes.
You have to dispute it. You have to be super aggressive on that one, because it will affect you. If it's recorded as an
Because I did the payment, but someone was calling me saying I still owed it, but the payment was.
so you have to be conscientious. You
yeah.
haven't looked at your credit report lately? You have or have not?
No.
Okay, you need to pull it and see if it's showing. It very easily could be affecting.
And it could take a while to do that. I mean, some of these kinds of things where you have to dispute something and then you have to try and work on it, it can
Well,
take
they
a
have up
while.
to 30, if they don't show that it's a legitimate debt within 30 days, that it's supposed to come off your credit.
But I'm saying, sometimes these things aren't done in 15 minutes. It's not like one phone call and it's done. You've got to be conscientious about it. You got to kind of take that bull.
It means more to you than to the people on the other end. One time we had a lien, we paid off the lien with the IRS. And we wanted it to show up on our credit report right away, that lien was gone. But it wasn't, they didn't push, but I had to keep calling them to ask them to expedite the process. Because I told you all what liens do to your credit score. So we needed that. It wasn't just our credit score, I think we also had to show that there were no liens or something we were trying to get. People don't want to lend to people with liens. A lien is saying that whatever this person has, their assets go somewhere else. So that it's really, really bad. So, but still, it's on you to get people to update your file in a timely way. Okay, let's see what else. Reducing indebtedness. Don't wait. Okay, if you have any debt, don't say, oh, I'll do it later. Okay, go ahead, don't procrastinate on that. And figure out how much you owe. This is the part that people don't like to do. But sometimes when you figure out, it might be that, oh my goodness, it's way more than I thought. But it could also be the opposite. I thought I owed way more than this. But when you actually work the numbers, you'll say, well, okay, this is what I really owe. I owe $3,000 here, $200 there. And in Tyler's case, she didn't expect to have an emergency room bill. So she didn't budget for that. But once it hit, then she had to figure out how much is legitimate, meaning how much does she really owe. Record that and then come up with a plan on how she's going to pay it off. And it helps to have a written plan of action, something that you can check back on regularly to see if you're following the plan. You make a plan, then you follow the plan. And I'm also available, by the way, outside of this time, if you want to do a one-on-one consultation I'm not just saying I'm a financial expert, but I can say that we've had a lot of experience getting out of bad financial situations into a good financial situation. And we worked with a plan, and it wasn't always easy, and sometimes you have to defer, but later on, it gets better. So if you want to come and see me, feel free to set up an appointment, and we can talk about how to develop your plan.
How much you charge?
I don't charge.
I'm just playing.
He doesn't charge it. That goes against my nature. I just feel like we're in this together. You know, I hate when people charge for things that
Simple.
that can help the other person get ahead.
I
Really?
love it, no.
Maybe it's because I feel like we've been blessed so much that we can share that. In other words, let's help the next person get ahead. It's when they get ahead, we all get ahead. Well, of course, if you try to reduce the debt, it makes good sense not to get into any more debt. So, no new debt. It doesn't matter how many credit card offers come in the mail. Don't take advantage of it. No new debt. If you can't afford it, that's why you're trying to get out of debt. You might want to consider cutting up some of your charge cards. Okay, you don't have to necessarily say, I'm going to not use these charge. I mean, yeah, you do say you're not going to use them. I'm not going to close the accounts, but I'm not going to have access to the cards. I can't use them personally. That's your personal discipline. Besides, maybe just one card. My strategy would be to keep a Visa, in good condition, because you can use that just about anywhere. And the other cards that you may have, don't use them. As my husband said, they usually have higher interest rates. And if you have debt, that suggests you're not paying off your balances in full every month. You don't want to use any store cards because you can't afford it. I mean, that's just about, why give away money when you're paying interest? It's giving away, in my opinion.
Store cards, gas cards, you know.
Yeah, I remember
It's a
those
setup,
days.
yeah.
Yeah, we had gas cards. We did all those different things. Like, that's what you do when you just, you figure I can get it down there. I can get this card, I can get that card. But you can't pay for them. That's the issue. So ultimately, we just weaned ourselves off cards. We said, okay, this one card. But I think what we actually did too, once we got a lot of discipline, once that secured Visa, once we got to the point where we qualified for a Visa that wasn't secure, then I think we got different cards. You got one in his name, I got one in my name, even though we have joint finances, because sometimes they'll give you balance transfer offers. They'll say, so if you do have a balance, they'll say if you transfer the balance to our card, then we'll give you maybe 0% interest for 6 months or something like that. So what we would do is if he had a balance, we'd switch it all to my card. So we would have no interest for a while. And then if we still had a balance and he got an offer, we'd switch it back to his card. So if you ever get married, I think it's a good thing to have a card in each of your names, just to help you have a little flexibility should you carry a balance. If you don't ever have a balance, it doesn't really matter. I guess it's just maybe just good business for everybody to have their own card. And if you have a joint card, remember when you get married, or anybody you have a joint card with, whatever that other person does, you're responsible for that.
But wouldn't that be the same thing about if you get married? You know, if they have bad credit, that's gonna tear your credit up too.
It is. So our daughter told us she's gonna have anybody who's dealing with her needs to show a credit report.
That's me too, girl. I think me too. That's how I do. I check them like that too.
She said, you're coming in with all these student loans.
I check them
What's
like
your
that.
status? Are they in default?
That's right, me too, and I check them like that too. So I thought I was the only one. I'm happy. Thank
During
you.
that moment of
So my
passion,
standard's not too high. Thank you.
that loving
Was it just something you were interested
outstanding student loans.
Man, that's a
And
random.
what is your
I don't
credit
play
score?
that.
That will guarantee.
I tell them I don't say
your
yes. I ain't saying I do until I see some paperwork.
Whatever you
I'm
do,
sorry.
you're in it together. It is kind of good to know, do you have similar spending habits? Because if you are a saver and the other person's a spender, there's always some conflict. I mean, you can try to divide your money, but still, you never get as far where you have to divide with the person you're living with as a spouse, as if you can pool your resources. So it doesn't hurt. Now, when we got married, no, we didn't ask each other about credit scores.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
We
I'm
were at
asking.
that stage of
There was nothing to talk about.
I'm asking.
We didn't, yeah, we had no credit. Maintain
I took
written
the
account
credit.
of all income and expenses. That seems like, that might be a bit tedious, but it actually works. When you have to write down what you spent, you consider more what you're about to spend, and then you don't say something like, oh, where all the money went. that's why I don't even like to deal with cash. I hardly ever have cash. It's hard to remember where my cash went and write it down right then. But if I write checks or if I do electronic transactions, then I have a record. I can at least say, okay, I was this store, I spent this much. And believe it or not, we've been recording everything that we make and spend for, how many years? 88? Is it 88?
Yeah,
87? I can go back, I have the file, I can tell you on this day. And this actually helped me sometimes. Like today, I looked up, we have a mattress that we bought in 2004. It has lumps in it. So I wanted to know, how much did we pay for that mattress? I went to the 2004 file, I looked, I knew what month we had bought the mattress, and there it was. We paid $500 some. So it was there. It helps if you're doing it electronically. I think if you're doing pencil and paper, it can be on task. But we actually put everything into an Excel spreadsheet and maintain the records that way. But we were just in bad financial trouble. That's when we started this plan of tracking everything. And through the years, we still track everything. And like I said, it helps you to make wiser decisions because you're not going to spend freely. If you do spend, you're doing it intentionally. You say, okay, last year for Christmas, I spent this much money because I gave this person a gift for 100, that person a gift for 150, and you don't just go, where did all my money go? Why did I get to the end of the year, I have no money?
So you track every single
Thing,
like
every,
small.
Right.
every
Yes.
single,
Right.
yes.
Every,
Because yeah, it doesn't have balance. If I start out with $25, that has a balance.
Oh, yeah, I gotta say, I gotta see you. I gotta see
I write it
you.
down under a
No,
column.
I'm
I have a
sorry.
column for food.
By the
There's a column for
I wanna sit in one.
mortgages, a column for contributions to the church. So I can tell you, I put it in categories.
Say you update weekly or something.
Yeah, I prefer updating it daily. I got to one period, I was so good. Yeah, daily, otherwise you're not gonna have all the records. So you just do it daily. I'm letting you know from experience, when I waited too long to update, it becomes stressful. I was involved in a lot of stuff, and I waited over a month, and now I'm still trying to get everything balanced out. And I'm gonna have to just save $150 food. I don't know where it went, but if I'm missing $150, I figure I didn't spend anything too big, so it's food. But I don't like to do it that way. I like to know. So I would say daily, no stress, because you know what cash you have, you know what's in your bank account. It's done.
Well, I ain't even got no credit, but just managing money. I went shopping because I moved into a new dorm. I got back to my room and realized that I spent like over $100 and something and don't even know where it went.
And you don't know?
No.
'Cause you had cash?
And then
Or did you
I had cash and a card, so technically it's like I'm learning how to balance the card money and have cash in your wallet, and then you check your balance on your card and your wallet and everything is gone. You like, so I'm still trying to figure out a plan for that. So
So I do it, yes, definitely. And I keep up with the cash. I mean, I record this, like if you go to get your nails done or something like that, you gotta write down. That's
and then the
all.
next day I was thinking like every process, like where I went, what I did, and what I spent.
Yeah, because you have to know your system, but sometimes, obviously, I have forgotten something, because I'm saying money's missing. So I must have given some money to somebody, I don't even remember what I did.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like keeping up with your receipts would help a lot too.
That would.
And I was gonna ask you
I
that.
definitely have the receipts, and you all, that's gonna be one thing that will show up here later. I keep the receipts, but there's some things that there's no receipt.
Yeah.
Like, if you give money to a person, in other words, it's a or like if you all were coming around collecting money for the cans, I think there's going to be but if I gave them the money and I didn't record it then, then later on I'm saying, well, what happened? Why do I have this money? If you pay your NAVA dues, you're supposed to get receipts where you pay your NAVA dues.
Right.
But I'm just saying, suppose you pay dues to another organization and you didn't, or you
Like a lot of barbers you don't get a receipt from the barber.
Oh, that's true. That's what you
Some
done.
barbers.
Start writing
That's true.
receipts.
Do that.
Barber
Yeah,
I
get your
go,
receipt.
no, I
I got
don't get a
one.
receipt.
so that's where you can forget.
Do what you said.
But that's one of the reasons why
Hey,
we
look
do
at
a
what's
lot
coming up
of,
on the screen. Keep receipts.
yeah.
Oh,
We do a
yeah.
lot of what we do with the credit cards because
I'm ready to shop.
you can track it. Not only do you get the receipt from the people that you did business with, but then you can actually then go online and see what your statement is of current transactions, and also go back and look at past transactions. Now, everywhere you go, you can't do credit cards, and we don't advise you. But you have to be very disciplined if you're doing it. But if you get to the point where you can control that, and you can do as much as you can with, credit cards or debit cards or whatever, it slows you down on just random spending. And the big thing is, this is the last thing, hey, say this after me, cash
Cash
has wings.
Has wings.
You'll never find it. So you need to make sure that you have to put that bird in a cage.
Right.
And that cage is tracking what you do. And you have to do it enough times for it to become a habit. And then when it becomes a habit, you won't want to go very long without tracking what you're doing.
And especially since you're in business, I think it's just a natural thing that you keep track of money. My mother doesn't track what she does. My mother doesn't have any financial issues, but my mother just goes, I put this much in the bank, I spend less than that. You know, that's how she deals. But I like to know, okay, this is exactly what I have, because sometimes banks make mistakes too. My mother would never know if the bank made a mistake, because she's not gonna check out the bank statement to even compare it to what she thought was happening. So, we said keep receipts. Closely examine all expenses, looking for ways to increase value. As you're going now, you're thinking, how can I get out of debt? Well, is there something that you're spending that you could spend less for, but get the same thing in exchange? One thing, cell phones. A lot of times you might say, okay, I'm an adult now, I don't need to be on my parents' family plan. You know what? I'll be on my parents' family plan forever. Why should you pay? It doesn't matter. It's not saying that you're not a man or you're not a woman. Why should you pay more? Now, as long as you all can get along and nobody's abusing the minutes, right? Or now it seems like almost every day is unlimited, but there was a time when it wasn't unlimited. So it was a big decision for us, you know, having our daughter on our plan because she's more likely to use more than we would. But she also would pay. If she went over, if she took us over, she'd have to pay. But now her plan, it doesn't matter, every day's unlimited. But that's one way that you can get value instead of going it alone. You can be part of a family plan. When I said keep receipts, see, a lot of people don't keep their receipts. So today, when I called about that mattress that I felt was under warranty, I first asked them the question, how long is the warranty? Because if the warranty we've had the bed 9 years. So if the warranty is 5 years, I'm not gonna look for the receipt. If the warranty was 10 years, I'm gonna look for the receipt. They didn't even know what kind of, they don't even have mattresses like that anymore, but they ultimately told me it's 5 years. So I didn't look. But I have all the receipts of major things. I don't keep receipts for food things all the time because I figured after a certain amount of time I'm not going to return it. But if there's an amount of time that if I bought clothes, or if I bought, even when I buy plants for the yard, I keep the receipts. If the plant doesn't make it, I get the plants, I take it to the store and tell you know I returned many plants, get my money back because it didn't work.
And lots of food, trust me.
So I keep the receipts for food for a certain amount of time. So I think the food has been eaten, okay? But